what Johnny asked me to speak about is something that's pretty new to football. It's pretty new to me. Coach Brown giving me an opportunity to get involved in this has really made me a better coach, I think. And that is the analytics that we're involved with right now. And I've I've tried to learn from that, and as I have, I've become a fan of analytics. Basically, all analytics is statistical data, but the thing it's broken down into it's your game versus your opponent, and I think therefore it really has a lot of intrigue to me. How it's changed my thinking a little bit on things. Uh, and with Coach Brown, what I tell him is all it is a statistical recommendation to him. He has to make the call, and he does. He has no problem managing that. He's a Hall of Fame coach because he's made more correct than most of us has and all. But anyway, it's just a recommendation, which means it doesn't take in every aspect of the game, what you have to decide or do. But it is a strong recommendation, and it has something that's really helped me as I've gone into coaching. I look back, I believe that I would have won more football games if I'd had more of this approach than I did at the time. I had a good philosophy. I always believed in playing great defense and being able to kick the ball and cover kicks, and then not lose it on offense before you have a chance to win it on offense. I still think that's a good philosophy. However, I think that the thing that's different is rather than field position, and I've plenty of time punted that ball to give the ball away to gain field position, and then I have that clock that would end up beating me at the end because I didn't have enough time or something. What I think it does puts a little more emphasis on having the ball, more series with the ball in your hands where you can do something with the ball and trying to score. So still need to play great defense. I've never been on a good team that wasn't pretty good on defense. You still better be able to kick and cover kicks. I believe that. I do think field position is very important. However, I do value the fact of having the ball and having it more times than maybe the other team does, and giving me a chance to score and have more points than them at the end of the game. I will say this about analytics, and I do hope that as we talk here that you do have some questions. I'll try to answer them the best I can. So I'm going to kind of push my time through this so I can give you an opportunity to ask me some questions. But this analytics has gotten to be a pretty big deal. It's what they do. What I learned is that they take our team and their team, and at the beginning of the week they send us a information that basically they predict a score, how many they think you can score and how many they think that the opponent can score, and then they try to derive you from that about how you should attack the game a little bit in terms of just stats, just statistical value. I really have never been very good in math. I'm probably the worst person to have in charge of this deal, but it's been a great opportunity for me, and I take it serious and try to be as good at it as I can with Coach. They send you out a thing in the first of the week, and they give you those predictions. They kind of rate your kicker, they rate your punter, they rate your return team a little bit, and then they give you an opportunity to give a grade on it as well, which would say, okay, I think we're a little better at punting the ball than you do right now, or maybe we're not as good. Maybe we're not as good in this return guy because our return guy is not going to be able to play this week or something. So we deal with that a little bit, not much. Most of the time they're correct. Then we send it back in and they run it. So I have people ask me all the time, what's in that book? Well, I have a different book for every game. So each game is set up. It's about a bunch of graphs and a bunch of things in that area. However, it's all set up based on that particular game. So I've got a stack of game books under my desk where it's a different book for every game and all. The thing that they do then is they send you back. We do it through email, and it's really kind of like a book like this right here. It's an 8x10 copy, and it's got loads and loads of tabs in it, and it's got all these different graphs such as that in it right there. And again, I've never been a very good student, so I take that and I create this book. And then because of the rules, right now the rules say that if you have 10 years or more experience, which I surpassed that a long time ago, that you cannot be in the press box. So what the NFL does, and some people, they set somebody up there with a nice cup of coffee, and he's got that 8x10 book, so he can find it much easier. Because of my experience or age, they make me operate from the sidelines. So what I do is we go to a print shop and I create a guy that creates me a book that I can handle on the sidelines and flip through it and find it. And the hardest challenge for me is finding where I was supposed to be in that particular part of the game in order to give the correct information to coach. And it changes as the game changes in terms of score. It changes as the game changes in terms of where in the game, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, how many minutes left in the half, how many minutes left in the game. And then it gives you a recommendation on such things as 4-down decision, timeouts, when to take them, when to save them, decisions on penalties, decisions on whether to go for 2, 1. It's just got a wealth of information in it that deals with situations during the game. And again, what I try to do is when Coach Brown looks over there, I say, this is what the book says, Coach. And then he can choose what he thinks is the best decision, understanding our team, understanding our situation, whether it's weather, whether it's, if our quarterback's shaking up or not shaking up or doing good, how they're playing as well and all. And again, having a Hall of Fame coach like Coach Brown, who's made those decisions for years without a book like this, certainly helps in terms of giving our guys the best chance to be placed in a position where they can win. As I will say again, as I look back, I think that I would have won more games had I had understood this book before. I do know that it's. I think that overall, it's not the answer to winning and losing. It's still players blocking and tackling and all the things you teach them each week. Coaching is still coaching. Football is still football. I think it just gives us an edge maybe to understand that, there's about 3 teams out there. There's our team, there's their team, there's the officials' team, and the role that plays. There's always the factor that you're in these stadiums. There's no question that home teams usually win more than visiting teams. I think all that's played into it as well. And so it's just amazing to me. There's some smart people in this world, a whole lot smarter than me. My challenge is just to find that information, give it to Coach Brown, and find it in those few seconds that you have between the situation of all of a sudden you're here and then you change into the field. So you got to find that into the field real quick. So that part of it makes me feel like I give value to our team and give value to Coach Brown and put him in a better position to make the best selection for our team and everything. So again, just as I talk about it a little bit, I will say that I'm not here to recommend everybody go out and get involved in analytics. I would just say take it serious. I do think that it's expensive and that it's right now there's more and more companies aware of it. I think they've got to start bringing it down into where you don't have to be as thorough maybe or have as much information here and still make it where it's affordable for high school coaches and such to maybe give you a chance. The biggest thing I would say to you again, that it's made me, or believe anyway, to be a little more offensive about my thinking and realize that clock can run out on you before you have. It's not it's not the best team that always wins. It's a team that's ahead when the time runs out. And so you've got to try to get it done with that timetable and stuff, and obviously trying to make those decisions and such. And I find that it started out as whether to go for it on 4th down or punt the ball, or then it's kind of built from that into time management, how to use your timeouts, how to save those timeouts for the end of the game and such as that. So, but I think most important, what it's taught me is it wants to give me an opportunity to have the ball more time than the other team does. which in the long run would hopefully give me a better chance to win the game. So technically, that's kind of what I know about what we're doing with analytics a little bit, and and I think it's growing and giving people a little more just some statistical basis on why this might be a sound decision. Now it's like anything else. When you make that decision, say it's go for it on fourth down. If you make it, you're pretty smart. If you don't make it, you're not very smart. And the commentator always gets to say what you did after the game. You know, I can remember a few times when after the game, they'd say, Coach, if you had to do over again, would you call that play? I'd say, well, probably not, because it didn't work, you know, or something. Or I would have, you know, did I think this logic behind it was sound? Yes, I do at times. So it really comes down still to players and the very things that all of you all do understand. I remember when I was at South Carolina, we beat Georgia most every year. We lost to them one time in Columbia, and we just couldn't tackle Garrison Hurst. And he was a great running back, and he just kept beating us during the game. And I remember after the game, one of the newspaper people said, do you think there was one call that really determined the outcome of this game? It was a close game, and I thought for a minute, and I said, yeah, I do. I think it was when Garrison Hurst called me and told me he was going to Georgia instead of coming to South Carolina. Might have made the difference in that ball game right there. So anyway, having said that, that's where we are on analytics. I hope that gives you a perspective of at least what we think about it and what Coach Brown asked me to use it for. And so if you have questions about that, I would be excited to try to answer some questions for you. I think we've got about 10 or 11 minutes now left. If you have some, and I'd be glad to answer anything you might have.
Sparky, can you hear me?
Hi, Jane. How are you? I know I don't want to go over my time because what you're going to tell them has more to do with winning than what I'm telling them right now. So
this is important. Will you hold up the book for me? Now, I mean, I just saw it in your office, but I didn't get to look at it before. Will you tell us, because, you know, we can all do this a little bit on our own. Will you go over the categories for us? Like, open your book.
Right. Well, this is what comes. It comes in an email, and it's a pretty thick book, and it comes in a lot of different situations there, and they teach you how to use it through tabs. I can't use that book because I can't handle it on the sideline, so I use this book right here, and for this is a book right here. I guess this was September, I guess Miami or something, but right here, and what they do is it starts out. I also have the officials. So what I do is I have them put the officials in the same book here, so I can look over there and call the official out by his first name. Hey, hey, ref. I can say, hey, Jim, I don't understand why you may have missed that call or made that call or something, but that really has nothing to do with it, but I tie it into it. This would be an example of a 2-point decision for us. And again, this would change by according how many by the particular game that week. You know, we all grew up with a card that said if the score's 5 or something, then you go for 2. If not, you go for 1. Well, this one really breaks it down by score, whether you're behind or ahead by so many points. It breaks it down by where you are in the game, first half, third quarter, fourth quarter with 15 seconds to go, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 3 seconds, 1 second, and then it has a final play, and it's color-coded to help you find it. It also tells you if it says go for 2 and then you have a penalty, backs it up, it might change you to a kick, or it might change you to where you continue to go for 2. Or if they have 1, it might change where you move that ball to a 1.5. So that would be like that. This would be a page here would look like maybe penalties, and where I would decline the penalty, or where it would recommend that I accept the penalty, and on it would be for offense and defense too, based again around on down and distance and where it would end up. I've made a few of those decisions not so good at all. I will say too that they send out kind of a genetic page about it. Kind of tells you kind of what this book is going to tell you to do. And this is something I really credit Coach Brown with. I know he studies this, and so therefore he's not surprised when I say coach, the book suggests we go for it, like with 4 yards or less or something. And so he's kind of anticipated that. That doesn't mean he'll always do it. He still makes the best decision for us. And then it breaks down by quarters. So you would find like what quarter you might be in, and just as the down yard marker on the field, and where you go 10 yards ahead of that, and you kind of get a plan for it. And then from quarters, it goes into like the last 4 minutes of the second half to the game. And then it has a lot, and it gets all the way into the second half, third quarter, fourth quarter. And then it gets into some issues where, like, offensive time on the clock, killing the clock, when you can take a knee, when you can't take a knee, when you have to try to make a first down or do what they would call a delayed knee, maybe extend the play a little bit. And I know there's times that you really are afraid to punt the ball or don't want to punt the ball, take the risk there. You'd like to stretch that thing out and end the game. At the same time, it kind of gives you some direction on how much time is left, what you could do if you make a first down, when to let them score, if that were such a case. I haven't had to do that yet. Hope God we don't. And then also about just about anything you can come up and think about, it's tied into that. It goes into overtime. It tells you in overtime, when's a good time to go for two. There's some questions about, say, if you're one of the big discussions about analytics right now seems to be one of the bigger questions is, if you score and you cut that thing to 13 points, do you try to get it to 15 points? Do you try to get it to 14 where you can get it to 7, or you try to go ahead and go for 2 and get it to 13, which gives you 2 shots at it to try to win the game sooner or later? So there's a lot to thinking about that's hard to do in those just seconds out there. But it is, finding it was my biggest challenge, finding where I'm supposed to be, staying ahead. And as you know, the game can change real quick. All of a sudden, man, they intercept the pass, run for a touchdown. All of a sudden, the score is different, time's different, everything's different. I get the ball right back. I'm getting ready to score it. I'm looking to see if I go for 2, and guess what happened? Right after I go for 2 or don't make it, I got to know whether I'm on an onside kick or not onside kick. Lots of information, and having somebody to help you with that, I think is what there's a lot of these NFL teams making it bigger and thicker each time. And also, we've got a really neat deal here in our print department, and they make me a copy for each week that I carry with me, and then I can go back and I can mark it during the game, and we can go back and check ourselves again. It is something that you can practice. You can practice like the closing minutes of the game of what would we do here? Would we, in this situation, are we going to go try to win the game right now or tie it and go into overtime, so on and so forth. So it's way above my analytical efforts, but it is something that I think is of value, and I think it's caused the game to be more offensive. I have much respect for high school football, especially in the state of South Carolina. I saw it firsthand, and I saw great players come out of there. They're coached up good, great coaching. I know, example of today, you got a full house here of trying to learn how to get a little bit better. I hope there's one thing I said in there somewhere that might help a little bit, but you're more than welcome here anytime. I think that we certainly are into sharing and would love to have you come, and just fun to be around coaches to talk about something important like football and what it's done for kids. And thank y'all very much. And thank you for including us. It's an honor for me to be asked to represent the University of North Carolina and Coach Brown and have a chance to speak to you today. And again, can't tell you how much I respect you and what you're doing. And if we're anything we can do, please call. And Johnny's got my number. Just ask him. He'll be glad to give it to you. And call me up. I'll do anything I can.